be hijacked by unnecessary distractions, it becomes like a river diverted into countless small channels, losing its strength and purpose. Consider how much energy is consumed simply by wondering what others think of you. Every imagined judgment, every perceived slight, every hypothetical scenario builds a small weight inside your consciousness. You may not notice it immediately, but over time, these accumulated weights pull your attention away from what truly matters, your own life, your goals, and your inner development. Overthinking others is like carrying invisible burdens. You are walking through life carrying stones you never needed to pick up. Every stone drains strength, and gradually, even your ability to act decisively diminishes. The mind, when overburdened, becomes less effective at discernment. Decisions that would be simple become clouded by doubt because so much energy has been spent analyzing someone else's motives, reactions, or opinions. You begin to react based on imagined scenarios rather than reality. Your focus shifts from creating to worrying, from building to dissecting. Energy that could have been used to learn a new skill, to practice a daily discipline, or to improve your character is instead wasted in mental loops that lead nowhere. This is why protecting your mental energy is not merely a suggestion, it is essential for anyone who seeks to progress in life. One of the first steps toward preserving mental energy is awareness. Most people do not realize how much of their day is spent thinking about others. It may be subtle, wondering if a friend liked your message, worrying about a colleague's opinion, or analyzing a partner's actions for hidden meaning. These thoughts appear harmless, even necessary at times, but they quietly erode mental capacity. Awareness allows you to notice when your mind is being diverted unnecessarily. Once you recognize these moments, you can gently guide your focus back to matters that truly belong to you. Discipline is the next step. Just as you would not allow someone to physically steal from your possessions, you should not allow anyone to steal your attention. Mental discipline is about choosing where your energy flows. It is not about ignoring others completely, nor is it about becoming detached from life. It is about recognizing which thoughts are productive and which are draining. Productive thoughts build knowledge, skill, or understanding. Draining thoughts consume energy without yielding results. When you encounter a situation that triggers excessive rumination about someone else, pause and ask, does this thought serve me or does it drain me? Over time, this simple practice trains the mind to conserve its energy for what matters. Another important aspect is understanding the temporary nature of thoughts. Thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky of consciousness. Some are meaningful, some are fleeting, and some are unnecessary noise. Overthinking others often involves attaching significance to clouds that have no real impact on your life. Recognizing that most thoughts about other people are not permanent truths, but momentary mental events allows you to release them more easily. The practice of mental release is a subtle yet powerful tool. Each time you let go of an unnecessary thought, you reclaim energy. Each time you allow your mind to dwell on speculation about others, you lose energy. Mental energy is also directly connected to emotional balance. When the mind is constantly preoccupied with others, emotions become reactive. Anxiety, anger, jealousy, or frustration often arise not from reality, but from imagined scenarios and interpretations. Over time, this emotional turbulence depletes your vitality, affecting both health and performance. By reducing unnecessary mental focus on others, you create a calm reservoir of energy within yourself. A calm mind is not passive. It is sharp, focused, and capable of extraordinary action. By protecting your mental energy, you are not escaping life. You are sharpening your ability to engage with it effectively. The benefits of preserving mental energy are profound. Creativity flourishes when the mind is uncluttered. Decisions become clearer because they are based on observation rather than speculation. Relationships improve because you are present rather than mentally elsewhere. Life becomes more vibrant because energy is directed toward growth, understanding, and action. Those who conserve their mental energy act with purpose, respond with clarity, and navigate challenges without unnecessary distraction. They are not immune to the world around them, but they are not enslaved by it either. Practical application of this principle requires daily effort. Begin by observing your thoughts. Notice when your mind drifts towards someone else excessively. Use a simple reminder: is this thought serving me, or is it draining me? Gradually you will see patterns emerge. Certain people, situations, or triggers consistently draw your attention unnecessarily. Awareness alone is powerful, but pairing it with conscious redirection strengthens your mental resilience. Direct your energy toward work, study, self-improvement, reflection, and meaningful engagement. Let others live their lives, and allow yourself to live yours with full energy. Finally, remember that mental energy is cumulative. Every moment spent wisely builds reserves. Every moment wasted in overthinking others slowly erodes those reserves. Life rewards those who guard their inner world as carefully as they guard their external possessions. Over time, those who manage their mental energy gain an almost invisible advantage: clarity, composure, and a sense of control over life. By choosing not to think too much about others, you are choosing to invest in yourself. You are choosing growth over distraction, discipline over habit, and mastery over surrender. In conclusion, mental energy is finite, precious, and irreplaceable. Overthinking about others is one of the most emotional independence is one of the most crucial qualities for anyone who wants to live a life of clarity, strength, and purpose. Most people unknowingly tie their emotions to the thoughts, actions, or opinions of others. When someone praises them, they feel elated. When someone criticizes them, they feel diminished. When approval is absent, they feel anxious or incomplete. This constant dependency on external validation gradually weakens the foundation of the self. The mind becomes reactive and the spirit becomes fragile. Emotional independence is not about avoiding connection or ignoring feedback. It is about creating a firm internal foundation where your emotional state is determined primarily by your own understanding, values, and choices, rather than by the fluctuating perceptions of others. To understand this deeply, consider how much energy is spent seeking approval or worrying about judgment. Each day, countless thoughts arise about how others see you, whether they respect you, or whether they approve of your decisions. This energy, which could be devoted to growth, learning, or meaningful action, is instead consumed by something external and ultimately uncontrollable. The more we depend on others for emotional support, validation, or recognition, the more vulnerable we become to circumstances outside our control. A single comment, a fleeting opinion, or even a perceived slight can shake our sense of self. This is why emotional independence is essential. It allows the mind and heart to remain steady regardless of the external world. The process of developing emotional independence begins with awareness. The first step is recognizing when your emotions are being dictated by someone else's actions, words, or judgments. Pause and ask yourself, am I reacting to the situation itself, or am I reacting to how I think someone perceives me? Often, the answer reveals that the true cause of agitation or discomfort is not the external event, but the internal attachment to how others see you. When you identify these moments, you gain a critical advantage. You can start to disengage from them without suppressing your emotions. Emotional independence is not the absence of feeling. It is the conscious decision not to hand over your emotional control to someone else. A key principle of emotional independence is understanding that validation is abundant, yet fleeting. Praise, approval, or admiration from others comes and goes. If your inner state relies on these external markers, you are building your foundation on sand. Real stability arises from cultivating an inner compass that guides your sense of worth. Your values, principles, and discipline become the anchor for your emotions. When your actions align with your own understanding of what is right, your satisfaction and contentment are less dependent on outside recognition. The opinions of others may still exist, but they no longer control your inner peace. Emotional independence also requires a shift in perspective about criticism and disapproval. Most people view criticism as a threat to their self-worth, but this is only true if they over-identify with others' opinions. When you begin to see criticism as information rather than judgment, it loses its power to destabilize your emotions. Not every opinion deserves your energy, not every perspective deserves your attention, and certainly not every comment deserves your emotional reaction. The ability to filter what matters and what does not is central to emotional independence. By consciously choosing where to invest your attention, you conserve your emotional energy for growth and meaningful engagement rather than unnecessary worry. Another aspect of emotional independence is separating your sense of self from your social roles or relationships. Many people confuse their identity with the roles they play: child, partner, employee, friend. When their identity is tied to the approval of others within these roles, their emotions fluctuate with every change in perception. True independence is understanding that your value does not come from a role, a relationship, or a label. It comes from the integrity of your actions and the consistency of your inner character. When your foundation is built on this internal framework, external praise or criticism becomes secondary and your emotional stability remains intact. Developing emotional independence also strengthens decision-making. When your choices are free from the need for approval, they become clearer, more deliberate, and aligned with your purpose. Over-investing in the opinions of others often leads to indecision, second-guessing, or even compromise of values. Emotional independence allows you to act with confidence, to trust your intuition, and to follow a path that is consistent with your own understanding of right and effective action. You are no longer trapped in the endless loop of seeking consensus or fearing disapproval. Instead, your mind is free, your heart is steady, and your energy is directed toward meaningful growth. Practicing emotional independence also transforms your relationships. When you are not emotionally dependent on validation, your interactions become more authentic. You communicate from a place of presence rather than neediness. You can offer support, guidance, and connection without expecting reciprocation or approval. You engage fully without losing yourself, and this authenticity fosters deeper, more respectful, and more resilient connections. People are naturally drawn to those who maintain their inner calm and integrity because they are reliable, grounded, and consistent, regardless of external circumstances. The journey toward emotional independence is gradual and requires consistent self-awareness. Begin by noticing when your emotional state is tied to someone else's perception. Reflect on why it matters so much and how much energy it consumes. Then, gradually redirect that energy inward, toward personal development, skill building, reflection, and alignment with your values. Replace dependency on external validation with internal reinforcement. Acknowledge your efforts, celebrate progress, and practice self-compassion. Over time, these habits strengthen the mind and heart, creating a resilient internal foundation that is unshakable by external fluctuations. Ultimately, emotional independence is freedom. It is freedom from unnecessary worry, from insecurity, and from the invisible chains of seeking approval. When you stop over-investing in what others think, you reclaim your energy, your clarity, and your ability to act decisively. You become the master of your own emotional world. Life becomes less reactive and more intentional, less driven by fear and more guided by purpose. Those who cultivate this independence experience a deep sense of peace because their emotional state no longer depends on anyone or anything outside themselves. In conclusion, relying on validation or opinions from others weakens the inner foundation, creating a mind and heart that are easily shaken. Emotional independence is achieved by awareness, self-reflection, and the conscious choice to invest your energy wisely. It allows you to filter out unnecessary influence, remain steady in the face of criticism, and engage authentically with the world. By cultivating emotional independence, you build a life where your energy is yours to direct, your decisions are clear, and your growth is uninterrupted. It is one of the most important forms of self-mastery, and it lays the foundation for clarity, strength, and freedom in every aspect of life. Daily yet destructive ways it is wasted. Clarity over attachment is one of the most subtle yet powerful principles for navigating life with wisdom and composure. Most people live in a state of constant attachment. Attachment to people, attachment to outcomes, attachment to opinions, and attachment to expectations. This attachment clouds judgment, distorts perception, and creates unnecessary stress. The mind becomes entangled in imagined scenarios, analyzing every word, every action, and every intention of others. When attachment dominates thinking, the clarity needed to make wise decisions fades, replaced by emotional reactivity and mental confusion. Learning to observe relationships and interactions without attachment is not an act of indifference. It is a disciplined practice that allows the mind to see reality as it is, respond thoughtfully, and conserve precious mental and emotional energy. Attachment begins quietly and subtly. At first, it may appear as a simple preference or desire, wanting someone to act a certain way, wanting approval, or wanting affection. Over time, these preferences deepen into expectations. When expectations are unmet, the mind reacts with disappointment, frustration, or resentment. What begins as a small desire grows into a web of mental and emotional entanglement. The problem is not the other person or the situation, it is the attachment itself. This invisible bond hijacks attention, energy, and judgment. Every thought about how someone should behave or what they should think pulls energy from your own path. You are no longer fully present. Your mind is partially invested in outcomes outside your control. Clarity emerges when you consciously detach from these attachments while remaining fully aware. Detachment is not avoidance. It is not ignoring people or refusing to care. Rather, it is the ability to see a situation clearly without being consumed by desire or fear. When you observe without attachment, you can recognize patterns in behavior, understand motivations, and predict outcomes with accuracy. The mind, free from emotional entanglement, becomes a clear lens through which reality is perceived. Decisions are no longer reactive, they are deliberate and informed. Observing without attachment allows you to act in accordance with wisdom rather than impulse. Excessive thinking about people is one of the main causes of mental and emotional clutter. The mind can endlessly analyze conversations, actions, and potential reactions, often creating stories that have no basis in reality. This habit not only depletes energy but also generates stress and anxiety. When attachment is involved, every action of another person feels personal. Every word feels like a judgment, and every silence feels like rejection. These mental patterns exaggerate reality, making small issues appear as crises. By practicing clarity over attachment, you recognize that the majority of thoughts about others are projections of your mind rather than objective truths. The ability to distinguish between perception and reality is the first step toward freedom. Clarity also allows for emotional balance. When attachment dominates, emotions fluctuate constantly. Joy, anger, disappointment, and anxiety rise and fall based on external factors. When clarity is cultivated, the mind remains steady even in challenging circumstances. You may feel emotions, but they no longer control you. Observing without attachment creates a calm space between stimulus and response, giving the mind room to consider options and act rationally. Emotional clarity is the foundation for wise action, because decisions made in calmness are more aligned with long-term goals and values. Another aspect of clarity over attachment is the ability to focus on what is within your control. Much of life is spent trying to influence the actions, thoughts, or feelings of others, often in vain. Overthinking about people creates the illusion that you can manage or predict them, but reality is that each individual acts according to their own nature and circumstances. The only thing you can truly control is your own mind. your actions, and your responses. By observing without attachment, you redirect energy from attempts to manipulate or control external factors toward improving yourself. This shift creates efficiency, focus, and inner strength. Practicing clarity over attachment also strengthens relationships. When attachment is absent, interactions become less demanding and more genuine. You engage with others freely, without hidden expectations or emotional strings attached. You listen fully, act authentically, and respond thoughtfully. Paradoxically, when attachment decreases, connection often deepens. People sense the calm, grounded presence of someone who interacts without desperation or neediness. Relationships are no longer a source of anxiety, but a space for mutual respect, learning, and collaboration. Developing clarity over attachment requires constant awareness and practice. Begin by observing your thoughts and emotions in response to people. Notice when attachment arises, when your mind lingers excessively on someone, when judgments dominate, or when desire and fear dictate your response. Then gently shift focus back to what is real and within your control. Ask yourself, am I seeing this clearly, or am I caught in my attachment? Over time, this habit strengthens the mind's ability to distinguish between meaningful observation and mental noise. Clarity over attachment also brings perspective. Most of the time, we react as if every interaction is urgent, every opinion is critical, and every relationship defines our worth. This sense of urgency and importance is a symptom of attachment. When clarity is cultivated, you see that many concerns are trivial in the larger scheme of life. People act according to their nature, not to hurt or please you. Outcomes unfold according to conditions, not personal intention. By stepping back mentally and observing without attachment, you gain perspective, reduce stress, and respond with wisdom rather than emotion. The benefits of practicing clarity over attachment are profound. Decision-making becomes more precise because it is informed by reality rather than mental projection. Stress diminishes because energy is no longer wasted on unproductive thoughts. Emotional stability increases because reactions are based on observation rather than attachment-driven assumptions. Focus intensifies because mental energy is conserved for what truly matters. Life becomes more purposeful, more intentional, and more serene. The mind becomes a powerful tool for insight and action, no longer a prisoner to the endless swirl of attachment-driven thought. Ultimately, clarity over attachment is about freedom. Freedom from obsessive thinking, freedom from unnecessary stress, and freedom from being manipulated by your own emotions. By observing relationships and interactions without attachment, you regain the power to act wisely, respond appropriately, and live fully in the present. This principle does not diminish connection or care. It enhances understanding, strengthens resilience, and cultivates deep inner peace. The mind, unclouded by attachment, sees clearly, acts decisively, and navigates life with precision and calm. In conclusion, excessive thinking about people clouds judgment and invites stress. Observing relationships without attachment allows the mind to see clearly, to act wisely, and to remain emotionally balanced. Clarity over attachment is a discipline of the mind and heart, a way of living that preserves energy, sharpens insight, and cultivates freedom. When practiced consistently, it transforms not only your relationships but also your own sense of self, allowing you to engage with the world from a place of wisdom, calm, and strength. The practice of clarity over attachment is a path to mastery. Mastery of the mind, mastery of the heart, and mastery of life itself. Focus on your path is one of the most important principles for anyone seeking growth, discipline, and meaningful success. Life constantly presents opportunities to divert attention through people, opinions, distractions, and external circumstances. Every moment spent overthinking about others, worrying about their approval, or reacting to their actions is a moment of energy taken away from your own journey. Energy is not limitless, and the mind is not an endless reservoir. Just as a river can be diverted into multiple channels and lose its force, your focus can fragment into countless small concerns that serve no purpose, leaving you drained and ineffective. To achieve your potential, you must learn to protect your energy and devote it to the path that is yours to walk. Most people underestimate how much energy is spent on the thoughts and actions of others. It may appear harmless to replay conversations, imagine judgments, or anticipate reactions, but these thoughts consume attention, clarity, and emotional stability. Each time you invest mental effort into someone else's life or opinions, you take away energy that could have been used to learn, practice, reflect, or act on your own goals. Over time, this creates a subtle but significant deficit in personal growth. Success is rarely achieved by reacting to others. It is cultivated through consistent, focused attention on your own development, habits, and purpose. Focusing on your path begins with awareness. Notice when your energy drifts toward others instead of staying directed at your own objectives. Pay attention to moments when worry, comparison, or desire for approval distracts you from your priorities. These mental diversions may be small, but they accumulate over time. The mind often justifies them as concern, preparation, or reflection, but in truth, they are energy leaks. Awareness is the first step toward reclaiming that energy. The second step is redirection, intentionally bringing your attention back to the work, practice, and discipline that serve your goals. Discipline is the foundation of focus. Growth requires sustained effort over time, and sustained effort requires undivided attention. The habit of being fully present in your own journey, whether it is building a skill, nurturing a relationship, or creating something meaningful, creates momentum. Momentum is the energy that compounds over time, and it cannot grow when your focus is fragmented by distractions. Every hour spent worrying about someone else is an hour lost in building yourself, and the cost accumulates silently but significantly. Those who learn to protect their attention and focus their energy on their own path develop resilience, clarity, and strength that others cannot easily influence or disrupt. Focusing on your path also requires letting go of comparison. It is natural to observe the achievements, behavior, or status of others, but comparison often leads to distraction and self-doubt. When you compare your journey to someone else's, your energy shifts from creation to judgment. Your mind evaluates rather than acts, your spirit doubts rather than grows, and your attention fragments. The power of focus comes from turning inward, evaluating your own progress, measuring against your own standards, and seeking improvement based on your personal path. Others' lives are not a measure of your worth. Your own discipline, consistency, and growth are. Clarity of purpose is essential in maintaining focus. When your goals and values are clearly defined, distractions lose their power. If your path is unclear, the mind is easily drawn into the lives, opinions, and judgments of others, mistaking them for meaningful guidance or direction. A clear path acts as a filter. Only thoughts, actions, and decisions that serve your growth are allowed through, while the rest is observed and released without attachment. This clarity transforms energy from scattered and reactive into concentrated and productive. The mind becomes a tool, not a servant to external noise. Energy spent on others also creates unnecessary emotional turbulence. Over-investing in how someone behaves, what they think, or what they might do generates stress, anxiety, and distraction. Each of these emotional reactions consumes cognitive resources, leaving less for focus, learning, and action. By choosing to focus on your path, you preserve emotional energy as well as mental energy. The mind and heart remain steady, allowing you to respond to challenges with composure rather than reaction. Emotional stability reinforces focus, and focus reinforces emotional stability, creating a positive cycle of growth. Focusing on your path is not about ignoring the world or living selfishly. It is about recognizing that your growth, discipline, and success depend on prioritizing your own energy. Relationships, responsibilities, and interactions can coexist with this focus, but only when approached from a place of presence and intention rather than distraction and reaction. You engage with the world fully, but your inner compass directs how much energy is allocated to external matters. When practiced consistently, this principle creates freedom, freedom to act decisively, freedom to pursue your goals without interference, and freedom to cultivate mastery over your own life. Practical application of this principle requires daily awareness and habit. Begin by evaluating where your energy is spent. Notice moments when your thoughts drift toward unnecessary concern for others, or when your focus is hijacked by comparison or judgment. Pause, acknowledge the thought, and redirect attention to your own work, growth, or purpose. Consistency is key. The mind will naturally attempt to wander, but each time you redirect, you reinforce the habit of sustained focus. Over time, energy that was once wasted on external distractions is now concentrated, creating clarity, productivity, and momentum. Another essential element is prioritization. Not all tasks, interactions, or concerns are equally important. Learning to prioritize based on your path ensures that your energy is spent where it has the most impact. External demands, social obligations, and unsolicited opinions often compete for attention, but they must be filtered through the lens of your own growth and purpose. Energy directed at your path is not selfish, it is strategic. It ensures that you are building foundations that no one else can provide, and that your life is guided by intentionality rather than reaction. The benefits of focusing on your path are profound. Skill, knowledge, and personal growth compound over time. Decision-making becomes clearer because it is informed by purpose rather than external pressures. Stress diminishes because energy is no longer wasted on matters beyond control. Confidence grows because accomplishments are built on effort and discipline rather than validation or comparison. When your energy is fully invested in your own journey, your life aligns with your intentions, and every action has direction and meaning. Ultimately, focusing on your path is a practice of self-mastery. It requires awareness, discipline, prioritization, and clarity. Energy spent on others is energy taken from yourself, and every moment redirected toward your growth strengthens the foundation of your life. Success, wisdom, and fulfillment are cultivated from the inside out. The life you desire is the product of consistent focus, deliberate effort, and intentional energy allocation. Those who master this principle act with power, presence, and purpose, unaffected by distractions or unnecessary concerns. In conclusion, energy is finite, and your path requires it. Growth, discipline, and success cannot occur when attention is scattered across external concerns. By focusing on your own journey, conserving energy, and acting with intention, you cultivate clarity, resilience, and momentum. The path you walk is yours alone, and every moment spent in focus builds strength that cannot be taken away. Life rewards those who prioritize their own growth, and the mind that is fully aligned with its purpose becomes an instrument of extraordinary creation, insight, and mastery. Focusing on your path is not only practical, it is essential for living a life of freedom, power, and fulfillment. By cultivating awareness, discipline, and the ability to release unnecessary thoughts, you protect your mind, your emotions, and your capacity to grow. When you stop giving undue attention to others, you reclaim the clarity, focus, and vitality needed to achieve your potential. The mind, when preserved, becomes a powerful instrument for creation, insight, and transformation. Guard it carefully, for it is the foundation upon which every achievement, every success, and every moment of inner peace is built. The life you want begins not with controlling the world around you, but with mastering the energy within your own mind.